We got Nick and Rob here at UFL Homer Hour discussing the exciting matchup against the Renegades versus the DC Defenders. Rob, what'd you think of that game?
Best game of the season so far. Offenses were awake, defenses were trying, but offenses were one step ahead pretty much the whole way. And something about ESPN, Fox, UFL, they're really pushing the Spring King moniker and that book hard in it because the amount of times you heard the announcer say the Spring King and or reference the book, if you took a shot every time, you'd be blackout on the couch right now.
Yeah, they're pushing that book hard. They're calling it the was it New York Times bestseller. But you definitely mentioned the offense in that game, and I am right there with you with Jordan Tiamu throwing 23 for 46. Again, low percentage, but he just goes for the big ball, and it did work out for him this game for 308 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception against the Spring King that you just mentioned earlier, who threw 23 for 33, 268 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. At the end of this game, I mean, it came down to one thing and one thing only. These two are exciting to watch.
Yeah. The big thing about those Luis Perez stats, though, 200 of those yards were in the first half. The DC defenders made the adjustments in the second half on defense. Shannon Harris, there was a clip at halftime where he said that keep on him. Luis Perez is going to give up. He's going to give up one or two interceptions. And it took a while.
Mhm.
But
Well, one thing they seem to slow down the blitz. The first half, they were doing the same thing that they always do every game against the Renegade. Well, every game period with the DC defenders is they were blitzing like no other. Luis Perez was doing what he does always. If you guys read my article, I actually break that down a little deeper. It's Luis Perez, the underestimated foe for the DC defenders. And it looked like the same thing was happening again. They were blitzing. He was attacking them. He knew exactly the spots to throw it. But in the second half, they decided to play a little bit more nickel, back up the coverage a little, and just use your front four, which they have a good front four for the DC defenders. And it was causing Luis Perez some problems in that game.
yeah, it did. And credit to Tiamu, credit to the defenders for not giving up. And credit to Dean Blandino for not making up rules as he went along, like Mike Pereira has been doing. He properly reviewed those challenges and he reviewed them within the correct windows and didn't add on because he saw something else, which Pereira keeps doing.
Yeah, the officiating was a lot better in this game. I felt. I know Arlington Renegade fans are probably going to disagree, like me. I'm upset with the result of the game, but man, I'm right there with you. I think Pereira uh, did a really good job. I'm not sorry, not Pereira. He did. Dean Blandino did a much better job than Pereira did in that game. Um, other exciting players that ended up doing really well. You had Kellen Balaj, who ran for 79 yards and with 10 attempts. He had a big 33-yard run early in the game. But man, that fumble at the end, although it didn't hurt him in the long run because Teamu ended up throwing an interception. Kellen Balaj, that was big. That was big. They were driving far, and to fumble it in that part of the drive was just in that part of the game was just not good.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. He looked better in the first half. All credit to him after he lost that touchdown because of the super challenge. He got it back on the next play. But you know, it's spring football. We're gonna see turnovers. Uh, Tiamu impressed me a lot. He's gonna be that. He's like the quarterback you'd use in Madden. He's gonna high volume, not necessarily completing more than half his passes, but the ones he gets you on are gonna be big plays. And Luis Perez is lucky he didn't have more interceptions. He did have a pretty bad wounded duck early on, and then he also had another one that his receiver got heads up and on another wounded duck to stop the. So Perez honestly should have had 3 picks in that game. So he'll nickel and dime you to death, but he'll also make those mistakes. Which I know you put up that poll at the time. I voted for Luis Perez. If I could vote again post game, I'd vote for Tiamo.
Yeah, I'd still stick with Luis Perez. One thing's for sure, I think he's gonna learn from this game and the next matchup against the DC Defenders. He should have a good response. But man, I mean, it's starting to get to a point, like I said in that article, you are what your record says you are, and they're at 2-5 now. Luis Perez is against the DC Defenders, so he might put up big numbers, but he just cannot close the deal on these guys, except for the big game that he won that XFL championship. So it is getting pretty disappointed. I was a little disappointed with the overall end result there, but do you think these two teams are going to see each other in the playoffs, or do you think the St. Louis Battlehawks are going to be able to take one of these guys out?
I'd say too early to tell right now. The Defenders are definitely going to move back atop the power rankings for me this week. But this is just goes to show that the playoff system is definitely flawed because the Battlehawks, the Defenders, and the Renegades should all be getting in, but only 2 are going to get in, and we're going to have a deserving team miss out, which is too bad. If it was just the all 8 together in one with a balanced schedule, you wouldn't see 2 teams on the USFL side cakewalking in. I still think the Panthers have nothing to worry about as far as getting into the playoffs, and that's too bad because I would say right now they're not a playoff team, especially if their coach continues to put in Danny Etling at the.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with Danny Etling and Bryce Perkins should be starting, and that is hitting at Twitter, and we'll talk about that definitely.
You
In
know,
Oh, I'm sorry, Rob.
and staying in the game, yeah, and yeah, well, that'll be brought up big time in our weekly pod. But after today's game, I don't think there's any fan of the UFL or in football in general that wouldn't want to see these guys play for a total of 3 games this season.
Right. It's going to be exciting, I think, going further. And although in that article I broke down what Luis Perez does against the DC Defenders, and the stats do show for himself, he got a 91 rating in this game as well. Uh, One thing's for sure, I should probably take a look at Teamu, how he plays against the Renegades, because he had a baller game. And he's got an ability that this defense is going to struggle with because there's no other quarterback that can throw the deep ball like Teamu. And stretching this defense out is the only weapon that I could see that could take them down. If you play front 7 football, they're going to get you every single time, and they're going to keep those low scoring games. But Teamu being able to throw over those safeties really hurt this Renegades team, and they were able to take advantage of it in the second half.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, in the first half, I was like, okay, the Renegades are here to play. They are showing they're the best team in the league. And pulled the league Corso. They said, not so fast, my friend. And they reasserted themselves, rightfully so, at the top for now. I don't know, it was an exciting game. It's been a wildly exciting week. I think the last game going on right now probably will be our lowest scoring of the week. But who knows? Maybe the trend will continue.
Yeah, maybe it will. And lately, it's been the scores are starting to go up each week. So I expect the same thing to be happening. And I wouldn't be too shocked if the Brahmas were able to put up some yards. I think they've got a good quarterback who's starting to get a little bit better, Kellen Mond. And now that he's in the groove, that team should do really well. The other major story that came out of it is the Renegades. This is the second year in a row where they were at home against the DC Defenders, and they have an 11-point lead heading in the fourth quarter, and then they blew it again. And they almost did it against the St. Louis Battlehawks. If it wasn't for this big pick six where they can come back, they could have very well lost that game. And then they blew the lead late against the Stallions. So I guess the question I had for you and Renegades in general, are we not able to close the deal? Do we have a problem on our hands?
It seems Big Game Bob is losing the adjustments battle. It looks like he's doing a really good job in the first half, and then once and they're not changing up what they're doing, or they're not anticipating how the other teams are going to adapt to them, and it's a game of adjustments. That's what a lot of people say about football, and they're not winning it right now, and their talent got them out of it a few times, but it did not get them out of it today.
Sure didn't, and they seem to. I think they're scripting plays really well and moving the ball down the field. Usually early in the game, they've been like you said, they do really well. But man, it just seems like they stagnate, they stall, and the second half offense is just not looking good. Defense makes an adjustment, and we can't do anything to respond to it. So the Renegades are going to have to look at that going further because I haven't seen, I don't know the numbers, but I imagine their second half stats on offense are just not good because just seeing what I can see, most of their points are going to be scored in the first half. They look really good. They look real fresh. I thought they were going to easily win this game, but boy, was I wrong. They did it again. They started stagnating and then they ended up losing the game.
Yeah, and they're fine. They're still going to be a playoff team. But if they want to win it all, they're going to have to figure out. The coaches need to figure out the adjustments, and win the second half. That's key. I thought that if I did not think the defenders were winning this game, I thought they were going to lose it. But they showed that they are for real. If if I'm if I'm the UFL, I want Shannon Harris in that job without an interim tag at this point. Uh, just give him the full on job and let's go from there.
Yeah, hearing him on the sidelines where you're able to just view the way he commands that team, it does show that he seems to be running a pretty good organization right there. He just got control of it. He talks to the players and discusses things with them. He's looking like a pretty good head coach, and I got to give my shout out to Blake Williams too, who's stepping in for Greg Williams, Greg's son. He did a really good job as well, making adjustments to stop the Renegades offense.
Yeah, he pretty much shut it down in the second half. He still gave up a few points, but you're always going to give up a few. But that was they slowed the bleed enough so that the offense could catch up and then get past. And then that last play of the game, that was very well played. I mean, obviously they were going to be going towards the end zone, um, but they sat back, they played it right, and the better defense beat the offense.
Well, yeah, the last play though was Canella held in that though. Luis Perez was pointing that out, and I think he was. I'm not going to say it didn't really matter. Even if we got the penalty, we probably weren't winning the game. But I think he was held. I think that's why they got that pick. He wasn't able to get to his spot.
Yeah, quite possibly. But even if he wasn't held, there still would have been, one or two defenders right there. It would have been a very difficult catch. I do say I like that for the first time this season, um, Luis Perez has been a lot less fearless about throwing the ball downfield. The way they started that game with that 63-yard play was wonderful. That being said, pass was a little high. Even Perez said, "Hey, I give all the credit to my defender there." But hey, he was a quarterback. He put it where his receiver could get it. It worked out. And then early on, there was also I think they get held up a few times because their center likes to snap the ball seemingly really high, and that took him out of some rhythm on a few timing plays. So I think they got to look at their line as well. They got to look at their center, figure out what's going on. Was he just getting intimidated by the defense, and trying to move quick so he could get up and block them, or what? But on a lot of the timing plays that the Renegades run, a high snap's gonna end it.
Especially with that offensive line struggling like they are, and against the DC defenders that has a really good four-man rush, you just don't want anything like that. But you are absolutely right. It looked like Luis Perez was pushing the ball down the field. He threw 3 or 4 big 20-yard passes in that game, and he threaded the needle too, deadly accurate on some of them, where he just went in between the double coverage or the bracket. So I'm with you there. I do like the fact that he was pushing the ball. Might have been the reason why he ended up getting that late interception and possibly the other 3 interceptions that could have happened. He might realize he was just trying to push the football and take advantage of it in this game.
Yeah, But overall, great game. It's been a great week so far. I can't wait to talk. Funny enough, can't wait to talk showboats in our pod later this week. Um, it's been a good weekend for sure.
Yeah, for sure. We will break down the rest of the UFL coming up here on Wednesday, and we'll discuss the results of all the games. I do have another article coming out. I'm going to be going over the Stallions' offensive line struggles and what exactly is different from this team versus last year's team. And I'm going to be breaking down the differences of that, and that should be released on Friday. Please join us. We enjoy you guys' company, and we're just excited about talking more football this week.
For sure, yeah. Looking forward to the pod this week. Make sure follow us on YouTube, like and subscribe. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter as well UFL Homer Hour, and then on Instagram, the Nick and Rob Homer Hour. Give us a follow, give us a like, share with your friends, and we're gonna talk more football in a few days.
Yep, sounds good, guys. We'll see you then. But for now, enjoy the Brahmas versus the Roughnecks.